I want to bring in Congressman Dan Crenshaw. The House is not back in session, but you're watching this. You will not have to go back, Congressman, to vote on this if they just give it over. And Nancy Pelosi says, I'll take it as I see it. But for what do you, I know you've probably got a little bit cynical after being in Washington for so long, but don't you believe this is a new low?
Oh, it absolutely is. And I've only been in Washington for, a year and a half now. But a lot of folks who have been there their entire lives say this is one of the lowest of lows that they've ever seen. It's pretty unbelievable. We watched these negotiations happen. We were optimistic. There was this air of bipartisanship and, this notion that we're all in this together for weeks now. And then they tanked it. They tanked it in the most partisan of ways. And let's talk about what they actually torpedoed here in the bill. Increased unemployment benefits, so higher weekly payments plus expanded population who would get those benefits. So our independent contractors would be eligible as well. Small business loan bailouts, but not just loans. Those loans would be forgiven for rent, utilities, for payroll. I mean, and then money for businesses to keep their employees attached to that business. I don't know why Democrats hate the word business so much. I don't know why the word corporation makes them so mad, but that's what they're claiming was wrong with this bill. It is so utterly absurd that in a time like this, where there's an absolute crisis, where there's tens of thousands of people being laid off, that they would play these kind of games. And for what? So they can put greenhouse gas emission standards on our airlines, so that they can advocate for more collective bargaining standards for unions. I mean, what are they doing? It's so absurd. It made a lot of people really angry, and rightfully so.
So Senator Collins says this is disgraceful. We don't have time for this. Senator McConnell said they ought to be embarrassed, talking about the Democrats. When you look at Nancy Pelosi's wish list, the Democrats' wish list, why the heck are they including wind and solar, airline emissions, $35 million for the Kennedy Center in this relief bill? This needs to be for people. We need to focus on relief. We can focus on all that other stuff later.
Yeah, and don't forget other things they've added in there, like election reform, same-day voting or same-day registration and early voting requirements, minimum wage requirements, which would kill the small businesses that we're trying to save, by the way. I mean, it's hard to understand what they're thinking. I don't think they understand how the economy works, what makes it function. They don't understand that our goal right now as we press pause on the economy is to keep our employees tied to those businesses, okay? Because we're making them stop working. We're making businesses close, but it's temporary. So we need to set a timeline for what that looks like, and we need to make sure that businesses have the capital to keep paying their employees so that their employees don't need the direct cash from government. We can't make everybody in America a de facto government employee. That's not a good long-term plan, and that's not how our economy works.
Mr. Crenshaw, famously Rahm Emanuel said a number of years ago, never let a good crisis go to waste. And on Sunday night, on a conference call with 200 other House Democrats, James Clyburn of South Carolina told the colleagues, he said, this bill is a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. So we should not be surprised by this. I mean, they've been trying for a while to get $15 minimum wage, student debt forgiveness. It's all packed in this thing. But at the same time, when people were watching C-SPAN 2 yesterday, there are millions of people stuck in their houses, and they're watching Congress do that, and they're thinking, really? Really?
Right. And if that doesn't make you cynical about Washington, I don't know what does. If that doesn't make you lose trust in these people, I don't know what does. This is unforgivable. This is unforgivable. I mean, when he said that quote, he's saying the quiet part out loud. And you know why they're doing it? They think they can get away with it. They've been getting away with this kind of behavior for so long. Okay, the New York Times changed the headlines about this story 3 different times to cover for Democrats. They're so used to being covered for by the media, but this time they cannot be covered for. We will not forget this. We will not forget that they held the American people hostage, that they held our economy hostage. And It's unimaginable what they did. It's
Congressman,
reprehensible.
they could have passed something last week. They worked on this. There were bipartisan agreements this weekend. Here we are. Monday it didn't pass. Now Tuesday, hopefully something will pass. That's basically a week that has been wasted. When these small businesses, a week to them is a lot of money that they've lost. A week is a long time for them to worry about how they're going to pay their employees or how employees are going to pay their bills. It's ridiculous. What's your message to small business owners?
Look, well, my message for Americans is keep ordering takeout from your restaurants because they're hurting right now. A lot of cities are going into lockdown. We're about to start that here in Houston. And, they've said that date ends on April 3rd. I hope we stick to that timeline. But a lot of restaurants still do takeout, even throughout these lockdowns. So you have to support them. But, yeah, like you said, a barbecue joint I was just at yesterday, they have a 3 to 5% profit margin. They cannot last. Another friend of mine's business closed yesterday. I mean, this happens really quickly. And then what are these employees supposed to do? They don't have any recourse. Government action is never fast. Even when we do move fast in a bipartisan fashion, it still doesn't move quickly. So we all have to be in this together. Help out who you can. Keep ordering takeout from your small businesses. Order online. Do what you need to do.
Right. Let's just get this last topic in. China and the propaganda. They're acting like they're saving the world. They're flying into Italy. They're going into Iran. They caused this whole pandemic. And now, since they're out of it first, they're beginning to make gains on the propaganda war. Are we doing enough to push back against it?
Well, I'm certainly trying. Representative Jim Banks just introduced a bill that I'm going to co-sponsor as well. That would push back against that and make them pay for this. Listen, their propaganda is out of control. They'll do anything to save the Chinese Communist Party. It's really disgusting. They hid this virus from the world. If they had actually been transparent about it, one study showed that there'd be 95% less spread throughout the world. But even after the fact, what do they keep doing? They managed to convince the World Health Organization that there was no human-to-human transmission. And this was like mid-January. They knew better. They managed to convince the World Health Organization of that. And also shame on the World Health Organization for believing it. Now they're trying to convince the world that it was the U.S. Army that spread it in Wuhan. Yeah, well, I don't think there's a lot of U.S. Army soldiers hanging out at the wet markets in Wuhan.
Yeah, not really. But, Dan, you write about this on FoxNews.com. You got a great op-ed there on the Chinese coronavirus and the lies that are in and around it, and why why Democrats are obsessed with the fact the president calls it the Chinese virus. I have news for you. It is. Thanks, Congressman.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.